Hello YouTube. Today I want to talk about the distant Kola Peninsula in Russia and discoveries made there that most of the world just doesn't know about. But since we may be dealing with an ancient unknown civilization and claims made about its origins and global legacy, I want to clarify information about the pyramids, as some have called strange structures or objects discovered in that peninsula. So let's start with geography. The Kola Peninsula is a peninsula in the northwest of the European part of Russia, in the Murmansk region. It is surrounded by the Barents and the White Seas. In a number of my videos, I have described its paranormal phenomenon, as well as strange objects and USOs, unidentified submersible objects, in the cold waters of the Arctic seas, and the mysteries in the bowels of the peninsula, as well as the Russian military interest to keep it inaccessible where needed. The area of Kola is about 100,000 square kilometers. In the north, there is tundra vegetation. To the south, there is forest tundra and taiga, boreal forest. The climate of the peninsula is moderately cold. Frosts and snowfall are possible even in the summer. Strong winds are frequent on the coast and prolonged snowstorms in wintertime. The elevations and inequalities of the Kola Peninsula consist of depressions, terraces, mountains, and plateaus. The mountain ranges of the peninsula rise above the sea level by more than 800 meters. The plains of the Kola Peninsula are occupied by swamps and numerous lakes. In the center of the Kola Peninsula, on an elevated plateau, there is an amazing complex of two pyramids connected by a slightly curved shaft. That's what they're called, and I will, for now, refer to them as such, but explain later. Just understand, there are several kinds of pyramids in the peninsula. According to several reports in the Russian media, research continues into the most ancient pyramids in the world in the Kola Peninsula. This remains another mystery of the past, which confirms the existence of an ancient civilization on the territory of Russia. The Kola Peninsula has long attracted scientists, well, let's put it this way, at least some scientists, and independent researchers of the ancient world in search of scientific discoveries. The most interesting to explore, again, are the two stone hills surrounded by impenetrable tundra and lakes, where there is not even a single trail within a radius of 150 kilometers. The Kola Peninsula is increasingly attracting the attention of researchers, archaeologists, historians, journalists, fans of esoteric subjects, and also those who seek places of power. Unsurprisingly, the so-called pyramids of the White Sea have been found in the peninsula, which according to some estimates are much older than the Egyptian ones, more than 2 times. So let's start with the first type of Kola pyramids and look at the February 2019 Murmansk edition of the Russian newspaper Komsomolskaya Pravda. By the way, serious researchers who can prove they're not just curious tourists can get more detailed information from me regarding specific dates. In the summer of 2010, Russian researcher Igor Gusev identified an ancient stone-built stepped pyramid with a height of 80 meters in the Kola Peninsula. Scientists still cannot determine who was the builder of such pyramids. In addition to pyramids, giant, regular, geometric stone slabs that clearly were not created by nature remain unexplored. Upon closer inspection, They demonstrate long grooves as if they were passed through with milling tools of enormous size. According to preliminary estimates of scientists, the age of these finds ranges from 9 to 40,000 years. Again, I want to underline, there are some scientists and a number of enthusiasts. Nikolai Varsegov, a seasoned travel correspondent of Komsomolskaya Pravda, was lucky enough to see these unique artifacts, and in the summer of 2018 was one of the first to embark on the expedition to the Kola Peninsula with his guide Nikolai Shevelov, an employee of the Kavor mining enterprise. I assume by the term expedition, Varsegov specifies the territory around Kavor. The town of Kavor is located in the center of a large mineral resources field. The town's history is mostly tied to mining. A carbonatite mine is located near the town. Public limited company Kavor's mining plant, Kavdorsky Горно-обогатительный комбинат, is the largest company in the town and in Kavdorsky district. The plant is a part of Russia's largest mineral fertilizer producer. Varsegov became one of the first researchers of the unexplored places in the Arctic at the invitation of Kavor residents who launched the historical and tourist project titled Kavor, the capital of Hyperboria. Such finds, according to the Russian newspaper, are a strong blow to the dogmas of the official rendering of Russian history, which considers the Kola Peninsula to be the territory of the late development of civilization. With each discovery, more and more scientists, according to the newspaper, and I do not at all share their exuberance, are beginning to believe the opposite. And perhaps the scientific world is waiting for a lot more discoveries to be made on the Kola Peninsula, continue the authors of that article. Again, I'm much more cynical, and I doubt that the scientific world is waiting for anything that reeks of mystical or paranormal to them. But let's leave this alone. In other statements I read in Russian media, there was a claim that there has been search for the mythical Hyperboria for many decades. That is true, although the secret police of the socialist USSR had other goals when visiting the peninsula 100 years ago. Another claim is that thousands of researchers are trying to find the most ancient ruins or technologies of civilizations that have sunk into the oblivion. This is a hyperbole. There are no thousands of researchers. I would say maybe a few hundred, at most, serious ones around the world, and maybe a dozen in Russia. Really serious, qualified, experienced, and clear-minded. This is who I would consider to be serious researchers. Academic science denies even the hypothetical possibility of the existence of such ancient states as Atlantis or Hyperborea. Therefore, we have to rely on alternative research and efforts of enthusiasts. And there is some success in this direction. So during the time of the Russian Empire, several important discoveries were made at the Kola Peninsula. Further investigation confirmed, I guess, what the discoveries brought up. Further investigation confirmed that after the communists usurped power in the former empire in the years 1920 to 1924, following results of his expeditions, Russian scientist and author Barchenko listed the destroyed walls of ancient structures, menhirs, pagan idols, and most importantly, pyramids in the Barchenko's reports. Well, he and all the participants were shot, meaning executed, and all the materials are classified, and you know where they're kept. The reference here is to the Soviet secret police and those who are its heirs in modern Russia, those who have inherited all the secret files. That's where the materials are allegedly kept. Assuming they were not destroyed after the demise of the Gleboki team in the 1930s and the executions that followed in the great purges instituted by Joseph Stalin and his henchmen. Please see my videos about this episode of Soviet history. When the paranormal research was generated by the secret police, the shield and sword of the socialist motherland. Later, in 1951, Leonid Krylov flew around these coordinates and actually observed with his own eyes two suspiciously pyramid-like mountains. A year later, a hiking expedition was sent there, during which several stepped buildings, like a terrace of blocks, were found between these two structures. Among the ruins, it was possible to classify three types of blocks: rectangular, rounded, as if cut, columns, and huge megaliths. As for the third type, it is believed that these are natural cobblestones processed by ancient people. However, official science refuses to believe in the man-made nature of such finds even today. So you understand that academic science is not involved in this quest to find remnants of ancient civilization in general, and Hyperborea in particular in the peninsula. And I'm talking about official academic science. I don't know, whatever secret research is being done by the military, we're not privy to. In 1987, another expedition was organized to the pyramids of the Kola Peninsula, already known among some researchers I described above. Well, for 36 years since, a number of people have managed to visit that area, including looters and plunderers. Small stones were removed in an unknown direction, so we don't know where they were taken, while large megaliths remained in place. In the same year, 1987, reportedly, there was a scandal in the Soviet Academy of Sciences. One of the employees saw traces of mechanical processing in the photos taken during the trip. An article with his interview in the prestigious magazine Vakrug Sveta, or Around the World, was even released, but then there was an exposure, so to say, a public apology, and he was removed from his post. But you know what? I need more concrete information to substantiate this assertion. A well-known scientist, a doctor of philosophy, and author of at least 10 popular science books, Vladimir Dman, made the second expedition to the Kola Peninsula in 1997. The first attempt was carried out long before him, in 1921, under the guidance of Professor Alexander Barchenko, head of the Laboratory of Neuroenergetics at the All-Union Institute of Experimental Medicine. The OGPU, that's how the Soviet secret police was known at the time, they became the sponsor of this unusual quest. So it's not surprising that the developments were classified, and we went through it above also. Dman, who made a new attempt at the end of the 20th century, could for the first time tell the general public about what had remained a mystery for many years, in particular about mysterious objects of anthropogenic origin, but did not have time. The scientist returning from the trip died suddenly. We were going to interview Vladimir Dman, who largely contributed to the solution of this riddle. We were literally 2 weeks late, according to the Russian TV producer Alexander Volkov. Dman's archives were already being sorted with the help of his widow, and then we decided that his case needed to be completed and organized our own third expedition. In 2007, a group of researchers, including Sergei Smirnov, traveled to the pyramids. It turned out to be a rainy year. Bad weather was a common occurrence. 18 people became participants in this new quest for history. Among them, the press secretary of the Pulkovo Observatory, candidate of physical and mathematical sciences Sergei Smirnov, professor of the Russian Academy of Natural Sciences, Valeri Chudinov, who, according to another participant per the media report, later said that Chudinov made delusional assumptions that some ancient Russians built those ancient objects. And among the participants also there was a professor, doctor of geological and geographical sciences, Dmitry Subetto. We will later look at Chudinov's statements about the pyramids. They're very interesting. I'm not making any judgments about his claims regarding ancient Russians. I just want to ascertain the clarity about the structures that are located in the peninsula and are called pyramids. So we continue. So nevertheless, the path of the group's expedition members turned out to be more dangerous than they expected. Firstly, the group had no luck with the guides. The locals, the Laps Sami, that's what they refer to, were reluctant to show the way, the producer recalled. The first guide said that after our excursion, he would have problems with his ancestors, and then suddenly went missing. As a result, we had to look for a new tracker. A guide in that area is very important. The place where the pyramids are located is almost deserted. There's not a soul or a path for 150 kilometers around. You cannot find the structures themselves without a guide. They are overgrown with moss, lichen, and small shrubs. We flew to the pyramids by helicopter, but they are not visible at all from above. Thanks to the vegetation, they merge with the general landscape, Volkov shared with Russian media. The second difficulty was related to the helicopter. According to the producer, unexplained things often happen in these places. So the participants of the second expedition led by Dman almost crashed during landing and survived only to the skills of the pilots. The military landed our helicopter much earlier. It turned out that the Air Force airplanes were supposed to fly over the pyramids at a low altitude, Volkov said. It was only by a miracle that we managed to slip to the air corridor when it was finally briefly opened. But the way was worth it. The miracle that the researchers saw exceeded their expectations. We took a special device for the expedition, the most modern geophysical equipment, the OCO ground-penetrating radar, Volkov continued. It shines through to the interior of any objects like an X-ray. The geologist's conclusion was unequivocal. The elevations are naturally anthropogenic, therefore these are not natural hills but pyramids, the creation of human hands. Scientists have found out that the pyramids stand clearly in the east-west direction. Moreover, they were rebuilt 3 times. Ancient people constantly build them up in height. They added to the height of the pyramids. According to the functional purpose of the pyramid, it is an accurate observatory that allows you to monitor the starry sky. Using simple methods, a system was created with which our ancestors recorded galactic changes and studied the outer space. In addition, the pyramids resemble the legendary Mount Meru, the axis of the world, which is mentioned under various names in various mythologies and world religions. The analysis showed that the pyramids are at least 9,000 years old, which means that the pyramid culture came from the north, concluded the expedition participant. So our country has a history that goes back to the ancient times of a great power. During the survey of the area, a certain analog of a well or a pool was found nearby. It was a container with a depth of 2 meters. At the time of the discovery, it contained collected rainwater. According to devotees, this cannot be just a natural formation. In addition, important research was done with the help of the ground-penetrating radar OCO. It was possible to establish that a structure built of equal blocks and has a stepped structure itself is hidden under a layer of soil. In addition, there are several complex ventilation branches inside, similar to the Egyptian pyramids. However, a later study showed that the pyramids of the Kola Peninsula are at least 12,500 years old, which makes them much older than the Egyptian ones, based on the data of academic science. Okay? Let's now look at what Chudinov had to say about the age of the alleged pyramids. And he said it back in April of 2008 on his website. I will skip his discussion about a female Russian researcher and her claims about the discovery of the pyramids in the Kola Peninsula. This is redundant. And let's just get to the point. Fog around the pyramids of the Kola Peninsula, Chudinov titled his article. And he said that in the last few months, several articles have been published on the internet containing some stipulations that were not known to him as a participant in the 2007 expedition to the Kola Peninsula. They create some ambiguities, a kind of fog around the pyramids. So, again, this is 2008, and Chudinov would like to discuss them in order to at least partially dispel this fog. The concept of pyramids. From the very beginning of the expedition, Chudinov did not quite understand the term pyramid, since it was only about high hills, which he wrote about. There was an article that he also published about them before. However, here he mentions that Chudinov read the following on the internet. The most ancient pyramids of the world discovered on the Kola Peninsula confirm the existence of the legendary Hyperboria. The Kola Peninsula has recently become a mecca for researchers and hunters of scientific discoveries. Here, the word pyramids is given without quotation marks. Similar statements are available in a number of short publications. For the first time, the word pyramids in relation to the Kola Peninsula was uttered by Valeri Dman, the organizer of 9 expeditions to these places. That's according to Chudinov. But he was not talking about himself, but about the Barchenko expedition. These are the words. In 1922, during a 3-year stay in Murmansk, Barchenko made an attempt to find evidence of the former existence of an ancient civilization in this region, in the center of Russian Lapland. According to the calculations of his friend and participant of the Laand Expedition, geophysicist and astronomer Alexander Kondyain, Barchenko led his team to the sacred and tabooed Sami Seydozero. Only once a year, the shaman brought the surrounding Laps, Saamis, that's northern ethnicity, here to make a ritual meal and mass love orgies. And then everything was plunged back into mysterious silence. Only a 100-meter humanoid image on the Kuiva rock guarded the peace of these places. Barchenko's team did not stay in the protected areas for long. Winter was approaching early in these places. It was necessary to urgently return. But they did find something. Newspapers of that time reported that ancient pyramids have been found in the center of the Kola Peninsula. Academician Fersman, who visited the same places for the purpose of mineral exploration, sarcastically denied sensational press reports. Chudinov notes that Dman himself did not report anywhere that he had found these pyramids. What is the age of the pyramids? To begin with, Chudinov quotes part of Tatiana Zernova's article. For a long time, archaeologists did not study places lying from 50 to 70 degrees latitude at all, considering them uninhabited. According to Sergei Smirnov, an astronomer at the Pulkovo Observatory. However, research in the recent years has proved the fallacy of this point of view. So along the coast of the Arctic Ocean, amazing rock carvings of ancient origin have been found. It is not yet clear where they come from. It is possible that there was a waterway from the White Sea to the Barents Sea, or maybe the trade itinerary did not run from south to north, as we still believe, but vice versa. Of course, the most mysterious place on the peninsula is Seydozero. Unusual stones have been found near it for a long time. They seem to be specially reinforced on hilltops with other stones, those smaller ones. The most amazing thing is that these structures are at the same distance from each other. It is unclear how the stones weighing up to a ton ended at a high altitude. Who raised them, how and why? All this needs to be studied. The members of the expedition believe that Seydozero can answer many questions. Here's just one of the mysteries. Around the lake there are lush trees, magnificent lakes, and abundance of mushrooms and berries, and a little further, swampy tundra. Perhaps this is a reminder of a former worldly paradise. This is what ancient Greeks called Hyperboria. They wrote that the climate here is warm and mild, and nature is luxurious with an abundance of all kinds of gifts. This has been confirmed by modern research. The climate of the north was much warmer 6,000 to 4,000 years ago. Thus, Smirnov indirectly estimates the age of the hills according to the thermal optimum as Neolithic or Bronze Age. Excuse me. And then Smirnov continues like this. In general, whatever the object is, it's a mystery. For example, a local fisherman showed scientists two strange pyramidal hills. They're located at a distance of 120 meters from each other, and their slopes are evenly covered with boulders. What can these pyramids mean? Landmarks for travelers, observation towers. According to Sergei Smirnov, they are similar to the archaeological sites in the Savin Sanctuary in Siberia. There are also two mounds, two ancient buildings. A bonfire for the same orientation is west-east, and the elevation is chosen as on the peninsula. Straight lines set by the terrain are very convenient to use for calendar and geodetic reference. And then Chudinov added the following. Valeri Nikitich Dman had the exact opposite view. He was asked a question: do you mean to say that the Hyperborean civilization was older than the mammoths? To which he replied, yes, it existed 15 to 20,000 years ago. And it had flying machines in its arsenal. It was a highly developed civilization. In the sacred books of many people, there are descriptions of contacts with celestial aliens. The Aborigines attributed this phenomena to the realm of the miraculous and considered the Hyperboreans to be gods or demigods. I think the vast majority of archaic myths that tell about the deeds of gods and demigods are just the actual history of the earth clothed in esoteric form. But Yuri Kinoev's opinion is different. Scientists who have made a new scientific expedition to the abandoned pyramids of the Russian north are sure that the age of these man-made structures is at least 9,000 years, which means that the pyramids of the Kola Peninsula are twice as old as the Egyptian ones. Therefore, we can say that civilization did not come from the south, but from the north on our planet. In principle, he says the right things, but 2 points are unclear to Chudinov, which of the members of the expedition gave such numbers and on what basis, that is, by what method. Chudinov does not dispute them, but wants to clarify, is this the age of the completed structure after the two additional work projects were done on them? So that was Chudinov's assessment, and of course he has his own views on Russian antiquity that some in Russia find objectionable. But he asked the questions. So let's continue with our narrative. Then I read that a researcher associated with the Russian Laboratory of Alternative History, LAI, who have who has or have more than one repeatedly visited this territory unequivocally call them natural, but with anthropogenic processing. This means that once upon a time there was a civilization in these parts capable of processing huge megaliths, skillfully working with stone, creating complex structures, requiring complex knowledge, skills, and calculations. Quite a lot is known about Hyperboreans. The Greeks claimed that the Hyperboreans could fly in apparatuses and could live forever. According to many historians and researchers, these two countries, Hyperborea and Atlantis, Daria was another name given, were part of the same culture. Again, I'm just quoting some Russian views, but personally, I have great doubts that there are many historians dealing with this. Let's continue with this view. Of course, it is impossible to say for sure that the Kola Peninsula is Hyperborea. However, the fact that many obvious finds are not perceived by archaeologists and historians as reliable is obvious. Nevertheless, in the opinion of the proponents of such views, it is worth listening to those who say that the cradle of humanity was in the north. Then the climate was different, and a highly developed civilization could exist there. But now we need to look at the relatively recent developments. More about the mysterious finds on the Kola Peninsula in the area of the city of Kavor, which by some already is considered the capital of the ancient civilization of Hyperborea. This is according to the Russian journalist Varsegov, who was the source for the earlier information about this stepped pyramid. The capital of Hyperborea is considered to be the city of Kavor, 200 kilometers southwest of Murmansk. Near the city, there's a huge quarry with a depth of half a kilometer. This is not the excavation of Hyperborea, but the extraction of iron ores, apatites, and expensive zirconium. In 1933, geologists here in the area of Lake Kavor discovered a huge deposit of excellent iron ores, which should have been sent to Leningrad for metal rolling. By June 22, 1941, a railway was built here almost to the mine, but the authorities began to disassemble the rails so that they would not get to the enemy. Nazi Germany attacked the Soviet Union on June 22nd, 1941. It's only 17 kilometers from Kavor to the Finnish border. And it was only in the 1950s that the first builders actually came here. In addition to iron ores, phosphorus has also been discovered here, and this is a wonderful fertilizer. Only the proven ore reserves will last for another 100 years. And how much more may lie at the depths, we still do not know. We still do not know about that. Therefore, Kavor is very attractive for Finns and other European specialists. The nearest Finnish villages are about 70 kilometers away from here, but there is no direct road to the capital of Hyperborea. So Varsegov asked his local contact, what do you think about Hyperborea? I think this is a civilization even more ancient than Atlantis. There are traces that indicate the presence of ancient life in our region. There are many boulders here on which you can see signs of processing. Even after more than 10,000 years, I myself have seen the stones arranged in an order in which nature could not arrange them. And that's why we are attractive, meaning the area, to tourists and scientists. We would be happy to cooperate with the researchers and are ready to provide them with any assistance. Hyperborea is a preglacial civilization, of which little remains. And now we want to understand where it came from, where it went to. Therefore, it is important for us to attract scientists who, unlike us, can read the landscape. There are huge expanses here where not only the researcher, but also the ordinary person has not set foot. And then this, the Baltic Shield. It rose from the ocean 2.5 billion years ago. It is quite possible that the very first human civilization originated here. Then the glaciers licked up almost everything. Animals and humans, if they lived here, went south. The height of the glacier was 2 to 3 kilometers, and it was creeping south at a speed of half a meter per hour. If we assume that the highly developed Hyperboreans went south from here, would they have to preserve and pass their history to us? Response. Scientists have found mammoths with undigested grass in their stomachs. This suggests that their death was instantaneous, most likely from some kind of cataclysm. It is possible that the cataclysm killed the human northern civilization instantly, and if some people survived, they had no time to preserve their history for posterity. Once during the Soviet times, a group of geologists making their way through the taiga, 30 kilometers from Kavor, came across a statue of a huge stone head of a warrior in a helmet. After much debate, whether it was a man-made miracle or a natural one, geologists began to carefully study the place. And as a result, they found places of corundums here, those that would later turn into rubies. And recently, Kavor local historians discovered a huge stone wall here, lined with giant blocks, similar to the remains of an ancient city. This place, like other attractions of Hyperborea, is far from being studied and is waiting for its researchers. Next year, an archaeological expedition will arrive here at the invitation of the municipality and will surely surprise us with discoveries. Not far from Kavor, there's a huge and wonderful stone on the slope of one of the hills. Moreover, it stands resting against the slope with its sharp edge. There are only a couple of pebbles under the edge so that the giant stone can hold on. Apparently, you would need 300 healthy men who would rope a giant like this up to the place where it rests. Therefore, the locals believe that stone was set by non-human hands. Perhaps it serves as a landmark for UFOs or a monument to the ancient Hyperboreans. Not far from the stone, there are again mysterious slabs and huge plantations of blueberries. We ate them and ate them. That's what the local one told Varsegin. And then continuation. Another mysterious discovery beyond the lands of Hyperborea has puzzled scientists. And it is possible that soon we will start talking loudly about the historical sensation that Kavor logging workers accidentally stumbled upon just the other day. It happened 80 kilometers north of the city of Kavor and 30 kilometers from the Finnish border. The local swampy and almost impenetrable wilds are not attractive to people. Therefore, loggers, of course, did not expect to see a group of man-made pyramids in these places. The Kavor local historians also did not hear or suspect anything about such pyramids. It turns out that neither the border guards nor the hunters have ever stumbled upon them. The researchers were particularly puzzled by the fact that the nearest ancient settlement is located within a radius of 130 kilometers from this find. And therefore, people from that settlement in ancient times could not technically erect such massive structures in this place at such a long distance from their place of residence. So there was an ancient settlement somewhere near the pyramids. And judging by the scope of the work, the settlement is quite a big one. What kind of religious buildings are these? Where and for what reasons the pyramid builders disappeared is a mystery. But surely traces of their habitat, including burials, should be looked for somewhere near the structures. The story suggests a certain association with the mysterious tribes of American Indians who also left their cities, leaving their puzzle pyramids to their descendants. In the Kavor case, it may not be such a large scale, but who knows? It is still far from clear what ancient secrets of civilizations are hidden in the wilds of the Kavor lands. The discovery of these Kavor pyramids, of course, seriously disturbed the scientific world. Now the plan of the expedition to the pyramids by researchers and scientists is being worked out. So far, the pandemic has hindered to a certain extent, but the expedition members hope that the epidemic will soon fade away and they will be able to get to the mysterious structures and conduct research there. It is possible that the tourists may also arrive at the pyramids soon, but for tourists, let's just say that it's not easy to get to this area since it is located near the border. In turn, we will try to get as much information on this story as possible soon, and we'll keep our readers informed, according to Valeri, who published this article in that very, very tragic and unusual and strange year of 2020. Komsomolskaya Pravda has previously published material, Kavor is the capital of Hyperboria, talking about the ancient developed site on the Kola Peninsula, which was destroyed by a glacier about 12,000 years ago. The remains of this state or ancient civilization, Hyperboria, in the form of powerful stone blocks of strict geometric shape and even stone sculptures are found throughout the peninsula, and they're also found in the vicinity of Kavor itself. I personally would love to see dedicated and unified scientific research of the mysterious structures and other phenomena in the peninsula, but even if there were enough funds for it in Russia, I doubt it would happen. So for now, we can depend only on those independent researchers dedicated to this quest. Look, there are other fascinating phenomena and locations in the Kola Peninsula. I have described them in my videos and hope to elaborate more one day because I continuously try to update my research with new information. And of course, it would be interesting to see what else, if anything, has been found in Kavor. But all I can do is try. You can find my videos about the Russian Arctic, Kola Peninsula, and USOs and other secrets and events and developments and observations in that area. You can find it all on my channel. I want to thank you for your attention to my work. If you can support my research, please do so. In the description, you will find links on how to do it. Please like my videos. Please tell others about my channel.